Welcome to English Country Life. We're following Cinnamon, who's happily having a sun bath behind us through her breeding season. We've watched her incubate, we've watched her hatch, and now we're watching her raise these gorgeous little chicks. We've had lots of questions about what to feed the chicks, and particularly what to feed chicks when you've got a mixed flock of laying hens, broody hens, and cockerels. So let me take you through that. Welcome, my name's Fiona, and behind me is Cinnamon with her chicks having a sand bath. We're working with the brilliant podcasters Chrissy and Holly, who are Coffee with the Chicken Ladies, and each week we talk about an aspect of Cinnamon's brood and raising of her chicks. This week we were talking about what to feed the chicks, and particularly what to feed them when you've got broody hens, laying hens and adult cockerels alongside. What I want to do is show you what we do so you can make a decision on what's right for you should you decide to hatch, particularly if you want to hatch with a broody hen. We have a mixed flock of chickens, which includes chicks from 1 to 4 weeks old, brood hens that aren't laying, and laying hens. Our simple rule is to feed to the youngest in the flock and then provide supplements for the older chickens to meet their dietary requirements. That means the core feed type that we provide our chickens right now are chick micropellets. This is an extremely small pelleted version of chick crumb, or chick crumble as it's called in the US. It is the same thing, it just looks slightly different because it's compressed into a pellet. All layers and growers pellets have been removed from our feeders, and all members of the flock are eating chick micropellets. Let's have a quick look at the 3 types of feed we've been talking about. There's 2 for the chicks and 1 for the adults. So let's have a look at the chick one first. This is chick crumb or crumble, and it's the most common form of food to give chicks. It's a very, very fine grain that the chicks can easily eat and easily consume. The only problem that we find with this is it's very messy. The chicks do throw it around a lot, and particularly as we've got outdoor feeders, what can happen is that when it rains, you get a mash sludge around the outside of the feeder. What we prefer is something that we can get hold of here quite easily in the UK is micropellets, and it's a pelleted form of the chick crumb. So it's still nutritionally balanced specifically for chicks, but it's far less messy because for whatever reason the chicks don't seem to throw this around. They do tend to eat it straight from the feeder and not throw it on the outside. So we don't end up with this sludge-like substance around the outside of the feeder when it rains. This is layers pellets, and we don't feed this to any chicks, and there's 2 reasons for that. The first is that, first of all, they can't consume it. The pellets are too big, and I think you can see there that the pellet size is very, very different. They can't physically get this into their crops to be able to consume it and grind it up in their gizzards to get the nutrition out of it. But the other problem with the layers pellets is it's designed for laying hens, so it's actually got quite a lot of calcium in it. Too much calcium can actually build up in the kidneys of the chicks, which can cause kidney damage. So it's really important not to feed layers pellets or any type of feed that's got a calcium level in it which is too high. So please, I do ask, don't grind these up so it's small enough for the chicks to consume, because it will have other side effects. The better thing to do, as we've said before, is to feed to the youngest member of the flock and then provide calcium supplements which your laying hens only will consume. The chicks won't touch it. Things like coarse oyster shell. There are 2 supplements that we provide our flock during the time when we've got young chicks, as well as laying hens, broody hens and adult cockerels. The first is important for the entire flock, and it's grit, and that's because chickens actually grind their food up in their gizzard, which makes it easy to digest. And the grit that you would buy for an adult chicken is actually quite large in size. But the grit, which is appropriate for chicks, is absolutely tiny. But the adult hens can use this too, so it's really not a problem. But we make sure that we have lots of this in stock when we've got young chicks and broody hens. The other supplement that we actually provide them with is, of course, oyster shell, but that is for the laying hens, and they're the only ones that eat it. And that's what it looks like. This contains lots of calcium, and it provides the extra calcium that the laying hens need to add shells to the outside of the eggs. If we don't provide this, what happens is that the hens find that calcium from somewhere else, and the only place that they can find it from is actually from their bones. So they're leaching calcium out of their own skeletal structure, and that's not a good thing. So of course, oyster shell, if you have laying hens alongside, is really important. There are 3 common food supplements given to chickens, so let's have a look at those in the context of the chicks. The first is whole wheat grains, and we give those to our chicks as treats, roughly from about 2 weeks old. Now bear in mind we've got large fowl buff Orpington, and they can consume a grain this big at that age, but if you've got another breed or a smaller breed, it's probably worth leaving it till later. The second food supplement is dried maize kibble, and we don't give this to the chicks for 2 very good reasons. The first is it adds a lot of fat to chickens' bodies very quickly, and that's not great for chicks. And the second thing is it raises their core body temperature, and chicks find it very difficult to regulate their own temperature and are very reliant on their brood hens, so it's not great as a supplement. The third food supplement are dried split peas, and these are very high in protein. Our brood hens, when they brood, go through a broody molt and drop a lot of their feathers and grow new ones. So protein is very, very good for that process. So we do provide this as a supplement for the brood hens. All 3 of these together are commonly sold as a mix called mixed corn, and because it contains dried maize kibble, we don't feed these to our chicks until they're adults. The whole wheat grain treats are always dispensed from a metal jug. Very quickly, seeing that jug causes an avalanche of chicks heading towards me. Having something like this which the chicks recognise and run to is very useful for all sorts of reasons. For example, a chick could accidentally get outside the electric fence, and I might need to encourage it back through the gate. Or I need to catch a chick to administer first aid, and I can do both of those using the metal jug as a signal to come towards me. Our chicks free range, and although they have a core food of prepared chick food, as soon as they're out in the field they are grazing, eating lots of green grass. We do keep the grass fairly short, as long strands of grass can get tangled in their crops. As they grow, they're also digging for worms and catching flies, adding extra protein to their diet from what's around them. Here on the small holding, we're constantly fighting weeds, and some of them are a real treat for the chickens. This is a weed with a common name of goosegrass, as it's very popular with poultry. As children, we also called it sticky bob because it does stick to your clothes. As you can see, the hens and the chicks love it. The other plant that they love is wild mustard, something we have an abundance of in our wild area that we maintain. Very quickly, the hens show the chicks how to rip the leaves apart with the beaks so they can enjoy this tasty treat. And that's it. That's how we feed our flock when we've got chicks, broody hens, laying hens and adult cockles in the flock. It's a very simple rule that we employ. It's feed to the youngest member of the flock. So we put either chick crumb or chick micro pellets, if you can get hold of them, into all of our feeders, and that way the chicks can eat them and the adults can eat them too. But the chicks, if we put in layers pellets and growers pellets, wouldn't be able to consume them, they're just too big. Now, we then need to supplement the adults in some way because the egg layers need extra calcium, so we have coarse oyster shell on demand around the field, and we also have split peas available to the broody hens because they've been through a brood molt and are currently growing new feathers and need a protein boost. If you have liked this content, take a moment and give me a thumbs up below. If you're not already a subscriber, come and join us. Hit subscribe and the bell icon and you'll be notified of every new video as soon as it goes live. If you haven't listened to Chrissy and Holly on their brilliant podcast, Coffee with the Chicken Ladies, give them a try. A link to their podcast is in the description below. Trust me, when I record with them, I can't stop laughing. So please do give them a listen. If you have a comment or a question for me, leave it in the comment section and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If you'd like to support the channel, our branded t-shirts are in our eBay store and a link to that is in the description down below too. But for now, thanks for watching and I really look forward to seeing you next time.